Hey guys,
I'm Jerry.
I'm Sierra,
We're ladies.
and we tangent. You crazy, crazy guy.
My eye is bothering me so much.
Are my eyes bothering you?
No.
Okay, because I have fake eyelashes on it.
Does your face hurt?
This is hurting me
'Cause
right
it's
now.
killing me.
Oh. Then I opened my laptop and it opened up my messages, and the first thing I see is Corey saying, "Nice butthole." Because last night I was upstairs putting the baby to sleep, and then she went to sleep, and the baby monitor points at our bed normally. So,
were you naked?
I was naked, but I was under the covers after I put her to sleep, and then I was just laying down. But the fan was blowing on me, and it was blowing our curtains, and it pissed me off because there was just like street light coming in. So I reached over, sprawled completely on all fours, by the way, just like to reach over. And then I realized what was happening, and I pulled the blanket over me, but not before Corey texted, "Nice butthole." And then
Romance. What an absolute come on.
Yeah. I was like, so I didn't mean for that to be.
Come on my knees.
I was like, I didn't mean for this to be your view for the night, but also it's a full moon, baby. You better get up here. What's up, everyone? Hello. Hi, hello, everyone. How are we doing?
Chill. Just chilling.
Sorry, just taking a drink.
Oh, my eye is bothering me a lot.
Well, that's what I was going to tell you about my eyes, because I asked you if my eyes were bothering you, only because I have these fake eyelashes on and the one corner keeps coming undone and poking me. And I'm like, sometimes when I see people's fake eyelashes coming undone, I just want to be like,
no, your winged liner is so thick.
Is it?
How thick is it? That I can't really tell when it is lifting.
Yeah.
Because it's just so dark behind it.
That's why I do it like that.
Yeah, no, mine. Okay. I used an eyeshadow palette. I have very, very fucking sensitive eyes. And I used an eyeshadow palette yesterday that I haven't used in a really long time.
Yeah.
And I don't think it could be expired, but I don't think that's it. I just think my eyes aren't used to it.
Yeah.
And so it's just rejecting everything right now. I keep just pulling stuff out of it. And it's not pink eye.
Yeah, I know. It's just like, it's just
goopies.
Yes, I get it.
Yeah.
Those little
I got the goop
swirly guys that you just swimming by.
Ah! Yeah. I got the goop. I'm down. I got
down bad with the goop.
Down bad with the goop. Anyway.
Speaking of nothing that has to do with it,
okay.
Just a funny story that I want to tell you about my sweet, sweet little baby girl.
Mm-hmm.
She's just really, I love the age that she's in, and I told you earlier that she's doing so Noah, I always knew Noah was going to be a funny kid, because I feel like there's like little kids will do funny things and then they'll see that you think they're funny and then they do it, but like they don't know. They do it to a point where you're like, all right,
never mind.
My son, I always said he was like gifted with the talent of humor.
Forrest.
Yes, because he will know just the right amount to do it, and then he'll pull it away. He'll be like, no, you don't get it anymore. And I'm like, he knows he's being comedic. There's just like, he's got a gift with it.
Yep.
Well, my daughter, I think, has it as well, because she was just being crazy, crazy girl. We took her out to try to get her. Normally we'll lay with her to try to get her ready for bed.
Yep.
And she was like, no, I'm partying. Right now. So she was like,
get crazy.
Get
loud.
Get crazy. That's what she was doing. Jumping up and down, like having a good time. And then she would stand like this and fall completely backwards. She would just start trust falling. It was so funny because she wasn't just like, trust falling. Yeah. She would stand up, look at me like this and go, and then just give me the most serious, like, what's happening? Could be.
Here we go.
It was so funny that I was crying real tears. Like, I was laughing so hard. It was such a beautiful moment, because I was like, this is what I always wanted.
Yeah, it's what you thought, like parenting was, yeah.
Because I've said this before, I think, but the age that she's at now was like about when me and Noah's dad split up for good. Mm-hmm. Like, we had been rocky on and off his whole first year, but like this age was when it was like I was truly a single mom.
You were on and off rocky before you didn't know it was a thing.
It was always rocky. The boat was never smooth sailing. So, this age was like when I was doing it all by myself, and I would have those moments with Noah, but it was like I would always look over like, isn't this funny? And no one was there to enjoy it with me. So like the fact that I was Debbie, the ghost Debbie, she was
Debbie
always
was
there. It was just beautiful that I could look over at Corey. We were both like laughing with tears streaming down. I was like, this is what it's all about. Yeah. Anyways, that's all I want to tell you. Just that I think my daughter is a comedic genius. I just think she's so funny.
Yeah.
She will do things.
I don't know why I said it like that.
Yeah.
I'm just like, yeah, you think she's funny?
But
Okay.
her and Forrest
Alright.
together, I bet would be hilarious.
No, I want her to come over and play on my jungle gym, but you will have a panic attack.
I gotta let her get her sea legs a little bit better.
Well,
she just started walking.
I've got little things she could play on, and she doesn't have to do the big stuff.
Well, you know what else is really beautiful is like me and Corey talked about that she's playing with toys like with a purpose now. She's like stacking blocks. She's making things. She was like, you know, those toys that have it looks like a roller coaster.
I have one of them.
Yeah. Well, before she would just fucking smack shit around.
Yeah.
And now she's like actually
tracing it.
Oh, it's so cute. I'm like, look at her. She's like learning what to do. It's really beautiful.
We had a play date last Saturday. 2 actually.
Fun.
We had my cousin Emily come over, and she brought her son who is 5, and then her daughter who is 1.
Oh wow.
And the little thing we call it the dentist office toy.
Yes, that's exactly what it is.
Those are the toys that's always at like a
100%.
doctor's office.
100%.
Ellie was playing with those while Lincoln and Ollie were playing over on the thing, and Lincoln is like so imaginative and he wants to make up games, and Ollie doesn't give a fuck about a rule.
Oh, he's like, what?
So Lincoln was trying to like make up these games and do stuff, and Ollie just wanted to be chaotic, and then Lincoln would get so upset because he wasn't listening, and I'm like, you're playing with the wrong kid.
No, this is not this.
I don't know what to tell you. He sucks at this.
His vibe. Sorry.
Yeah. I know you're trying your best to like make this a thing, but Ollie, he doesn't.
He just
won't.
can't.
Yeah, he does. He's not even listening. I'm not sure he's on the same planet as us right now, so I'm so sorry.
Speaking of that, I'm not sure I was on the same planet as you all last week. I would like to formally apologize.
What's hysterical?
This episode now is going to be the biggest like example of duality in this podcast between if you listen to this
juxtaposition
one and that one, it's going to be very different.
Yeah.
We are drinking coffee today. We are going to have an educational-ish episode, but yeah, sorry, what were you going to say?
Remember?
Okay.
No, you said you weren't on the same planet as us. What was so fucking funny to me is that she was trying to tell me that she didn't feel anything, and I'm like, I just got done editing the podcast, and Sunday you would say otherwise.
And then when I watched it, I was like, I don't remember saying that. Here's the thing, guys. I have to say this real quick. I don't give a fuck about puzzles that much. Why was I fighting so hard for it? I think I just wanted to play devil's advocate to do it, but I was like, I don't care about puzzles.
Sometimes I know you like to fight with me just to fight with me.
It's fun. It's the sibling in me.
Yes.
Like, the older sibling just wants to fuck with you.
Fuck with you. I just want to like disagree to disagree because you know I'll get fired the fuck up and you don't care.
That's exactly what it was, because at the end of it, I was just like, anyways, I'm sleepy.
I know, and I'm like gonna fight someone. I'm gonna go through a wall right now because I'm so angry about this. When I posted the TikTok about the puzzle game debate, I so badly wished your mom had TikTok at that moment, and she would be like, I never played puzzles with you.
She probably would have, because when I thought about it, I was like, well, me and my mom don't play puzzles. We might have one time in our lives, once, and I held on to that and was like, we do it all the time.
The amount of people were like, you've said puzzles entirely too many times where it's not real anymore.
It isn't.
And then someone was like, well, a Rubik's Cube is a puzzle. And I was like, but
is that a game?
Or is it?
We did have,
or is it a toy then?
Now we did have I'm going to read this because
I know it's a game design person, and
but I'm going to read it already because I want everybody else to know that I've got someone on my side.
Someone was like, our escape rooms games, because they're also puzzles, and I'm like, but that's kind of like a race. You're racing the clock, and also don't ever take me to one of those. I'm so freaked out.
My anxiety. Did you know I'm on this like weird portion of TikTok where it's employees of escape rooms, and they come in while the people are in the escape rooms, and they fuck with shit, and they sneak out before anyone sees them, and I'm like, how often does this happen? It's crazy.
That's horrific to me,
isn't it? Oh, no. Okay, ready?
Mhm.
This says, your argument about if a puzzle was a game or not actually relates to a common question asked in game design, which is, what makes a game a game?
Which is
Which is
hysterical
what we
to
asked,
me.
kind of.
What's funny about that is it makes it sound like the question we asked was intelligent in some kind of way. Like it was
There
an
was
intellectual
thought.
query.
Well, and I blame the gummy. The general consensus is that there are 5 elements of a game system: conflict, strategy, aesthetics, story, and reward. All games also share in common players, objectives, and a system of rules. Oh, and feedback. So I guess technically, because it has all these components, aesthetics being debatable, it should be considered a game. Signed, a game student, game design student.
Even I would say other parts of that are debatable as well.
Yeah,
Not
well,
just
that's
aesthetics.
the thing, and I don't care enough to debate them. That's what I know. Fuck a puzzle. Fuck a gummy. I'm not doing that again.
Truly, I'll die on the hill that a puzzle is not a game, and any of you can fight me if you want.
The amount that I was listening to myself just talk about the sexual things I was saying, I was like, Sierra,
Oh my god,
quit it.
Well, I went to lunch with my dad, and he was like, "I'm halfway through your drunk podcast," and I was like,
why would
"Don't
you
listen to that one." Don't listen to that one because all I can hear in my head
Suck a
is,
dick.
I could fuck around and come right now.
You did say that.
I feel like sucking a dick today. Oh my god.
Someone said they were gonna make that their ringtone. Today I feel like sucking some dick. I was like, don't do that to me. Why would you do that? So, anyways,
You do. I want to hear it.
yeah. Well, so
Can you see it?
oh, yeah, I do. Look at it. It came with a vengeance. All of that to say that that this is not going to be that kind of episode whatsoever. So, but you also should know that this is not. We are not journalists. This is not. This is going to be mildly informative. I hope you get something from it. But at the same time, this isn't going to be something you should make a book report on or tell your.
Definitely don't use this as some kind of
No.
oh.
This is just for yeah, that part. This is just your friends who think they know some shit talking about that shit.
Yeah.
That you probably don't know about because I didn't.
Right.
And I'm 31.
We don't know dick about shit.
We sure don't.
Also, it is March is Women's Month.
Women's History Month, and that's where this came from.
And so that's how we
wanted to do something.
Became upon this topic.
Yeah. And they're not American women, but that's
Who cares?
also what I think is important because the amount of history I learned that was just American history and I didn't know what the fuck happened, especially when you talk about world wars, because it's like that really didn't involve us too terribly much. And I feel like we learned just not as much as we should have about
Sorry,
this
when
shit.
you said involve us, all I heard was vulva. And
God damn it.
now I feel like sucking some dick. No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. You're right.
No, hey, and there might be a moment where we make silly jokes like that, only because talking about things like this is, we're going to be talking about Nazi Germany, and that's a very fucking difficult to talk about. Also, let's just get every trigger warning that you can imagine.
Yes.
Is probably going to be touched upon because we're talking about Nazis. So,
Right.
I mean, just understand that. I'm not going to give any before they happen just because it's entirely too many, I'm sure. And it would kind of just take away from the story, I think.
Mhm.
So just go into this understanding that, like, you're going to hear some horrible shit, probably.
Yeah.
But you're also going to hear a
Make
really
a judgment.
inspiring story.
Make a judgment call for yourself.
Yeah, because I think, to me at least, it's worth the listen because as much as you'd like to shut yourself away from horrible things that happen, and I know I like to all the time, I would just rather, no, I don't want to hear it. The way that we make sure those don't happen again in the future is by really understanding what the fuck it did to other people when it was happening.
And how I saw something the other day, and they were discussing that when slavery, quote unquote, ended, that people were not like guided to group therapy and help them work through the horrific thing that they had been through.
Yeah.
And so generational trauma has been passed down because this is unresolved shit. So when people look around and they're like, oh my God, that was so long ago. It's like,
it wasn't.
Generationally,
It wasn't. It wasn't.
No. And emotionally, like you can't put a time limit on triggers.
Yes.
And reactive, responses to things. So I feel like I'm not using very specific words at all. I feel like I'm just, when people go back and forth and they don't actually say anything, but they're just they feel like they're about to start saying
Yes,
something. That's how I feel like I'm talking right now. But
I think, yeah, I think it makes sense to me, but I think I know what you're trying to say, so I don't know if that's helpful.
well, and I also I know that we're going to be talking about, Nazi Germany, and there's still so much prejudice now.
Yes.
It honestly more than ever with all of
Yes.
the laws that are coming in that they don't want to talk about critical race theory.
Yes.
They the don't say gay bills,
Yep.
the trans rights that are being taken away. So it's important to talk about these things because it's not new, it's not over. Yeah, and I think that again, this is in the same lane, but it's kind of a pivot. Is when we do talk about these things, I don't feel like we normally hear stories from a femme perspective.
100%. Well, and it's funny to me because we're going to be talking about the Oversteegen sisters
Mm-hmm.
and their friend. Okay, I need you to know ahead of time that these women are from the Netherlands. They are Dutch. This is Dutch.
Okay.
I'm gonna have trouble.
Yeah.
I just want to say that I listen to so many podcasts.
To all our
and
people
to
in the
all
Netherlands, I'm
things
so sorry.
so that I would try to say their names correctly. I'm still probably gonna fuck it up. I'm so apologetic about that. But okay, Hani Sheft, I believe, is their friend.
Okay.
So Oversteegen sisters and Hani Sheft. And when you listen to their story, which I'm about to tell you, it is very close to like what the movie like Inglourious Bastards.
Okay.
But that was all, it was like mostly men, correct? In that
Yeah.
movie. So it's just crazy to me that like, why weren't we told this story? Because these are young teenage girls.
Right.
That are doing the things that movie was kind of based around. So,
well, that's fucking dope.
Yeah, that's what we're going to talk about.
Hyped on that.
Okay, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to link all of the articles, so I'm not going to go like into super detail about them, but we have a Time magazine article, history.com article, a What's Her Name, the Resistance, Truth, and Freddie Oversteegen article, Wikipedia, and then there was a book that was written by, which I would love to read, I didn't get a chance to, but Sophie Poldermans wrote a book called Seducing and Killing Nazis, Hani, Truus, and Freddie, Dutch Resistance Heroines of World War II.
Hell yeah.
And I can't wait to read that. I did already order it. And she was a Dutch women's right advocate, author, and public speaker. And she had known Truus and Freddie Oversteegen for 20 years and worked closely with them as a board member of their foundation that they
Is
made.
Freddie like a girl's name in this?
Yeah, Dutch girl's name. Yeah.
I love that.
Isn't it? Yeah, it's really good. Okay, so here we go. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
We're going to start off in the Netherlands in 1923. We have Truus Oversteegen. That's how they said the Dutch people that I heard say it was Truus.
Mm-hmm.
I can't say it the way that they did. Truus. But it's Truus.
When I was learning German, there is a way that you roll your R and it's in the back of your throat, not with your tongue, and I'm so butt shit at it.
Yeah, it's not, yeah. Okay, so she was born on August 29th, 1923, and then her sister, Freddie, is born 2 years later on September 6th, 1925, and they're born in Schoten, Netherlands, which later on is called Haarlem. So if you hear that, it's the same place. It's a small Dutch village, and Freddie and her sister, Truus, grew up in a city of Haarlem, with a single working class mother. So their parents were together when they were born, and then they end up, I think they all lived on a ship at one point. Okay. Very interesting. And then the parents went their separate ways. It was an amicable split, but it was issues with the dad not working a lot, and so he stayed. Okay. The mom took the girls.
He stayed in the Netherlands?
Yeah, but she stayed in the same place, just not on the ship anymore.
Got it.
So, but still, they didn't see their dad very much after the split. I don't know why, but that's just what they say.
He's on a boat,
I guess. So when they leave, they move in with their mother to a smaller flat where they sleep on straw mattresses that their mother made by hand. Okay. Their mother considered herself a communist, and she taught her daughters the importance of fighting injustice. They spent their childhood doing things like making dolls for the child victims of the Spanish Civil War.
Aww.
Right? Both of their parents were members of the International Red Aid, which was a social service group organized by the Communist International. And basically that's all about fighting fascism, which is Hitler. We'll see that. But that's
because I know when people hear the word communist, they're like, ah!
But yeah, in this time period, it was basically just really anti-fascism.
Yes.
Which, again, was Hitler's party.
Yes.
So, their parents divorced. Yep, we got to that part. And Freddie, okay, so at this point, she's living with her mom in these straw mattress things. Freddie was quoted as saying, their mother didn't have much, but was always able to make sure that they would figure something out. And that the family was always singing.
Oh,
isn't that beautiful?
Yeah.
Like, as someone who was a single mom who was like sad about the things that I couldn't provide, knowing that those are what they look back on, it was like, yeah, we didn't have a lot, but we were always singing.
Yes.
And they were helping people.
Yes. I think about that all the time with my kids where I'm like worried because every parent's like terrified that they're screwing their kid up.
Oh,
in, like,
always. I think that's the mark of a good parent.
Unfixable ways.
Yeah. If you worry that you're fucking your kid up, you're probably a good parent.
But when I hear Forrest get up and it's like pitch black outside, it is still very much the middle of the night, but he finds a microphone and he comes in the room and he starts singing Thank You by Alanis Morissette. I'm like, oh my God.
You sweetie.
I'm doing something. I'm doing something right.
I love that.
First of all, that you remember that song. And second of all, that you feel safe enough to do it in the middle of the night.
Yes.
Into a microphone.
Right. Truly.
Yeah.
And you know you're not going to get yelled at.
Yeah.
Okay, so Freddie and Truth grew up witnessing the horrors and the inhumanity of the Nazi Party as it starts making its way out of Germany and around the rest of Europe. Okay, so real quickly, we're gonna do some quick World War II facts knowledge in case you don't have any idea. Do you know a lot about World War II?
I know that it was Hitler.
So
I know there were Nazis. I know that he was trying to basically conquer Europe. Like he wanted to like invade everywhere.
Yeah, and a lot of it stemmed from what happened during the First World War. So because the First World War happened, and it was an international conflict that like rocked and fucked up some parts of Europe, including Germany. The instability then that was created in Europe basically was, I mean, it was devastating, but there was a lot of economical and political instability that then allowed
it's a breeding ground,
these people to come to power. And the biggest thing that they were able to do was provide a scapegoat, which was the Jew. It started out as Jewish business owners, and then it just became Jewish people as a whole. And then it became anybody who's different than like white, blonde hair, blue-eyed people. Yeah. It was just like, how nice is that we have people that we can point to and say, not my fault, their fault. Yeah. And as long as we get rid of them, we won't have this issue anymore.
Right.
It doesn't sound like that happens anymore, right?
Yeah,
that couldn't possibly be still happening.
Never heard of that.
So that's kind of what happened. Adolf Hitler then was the leader of the Nazi Party. He rearmed the nation and signed strategic treaties with Italy and Japan. And yes, he then started invading the rest of Europe, Poland, the Netherlands, and just like fucking.
Yeah.
And then Great Britain and France declared war. We ended up coming to help them.
Yeah.
Blah, 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 blah. Okay. So that's kind of what happened. Then you have, obviously there was concentration camps. And again, at this point, a lot of people didn't know. There was so much propaganda happening that, like, unless you knew people who, like, it was so easy to be a middleman person. And this is why we talk so hard about when you have to pick a side, you kind of have to pick a side because it's so easy to be like, I can't see anything. I don't know what's happening. I'm in the middle and it's not affecting me, so I'm going to turn your head. But when you're doing that, you are picking a side.
Yes.
Because then you're just turning a blind eye to the people who are being murdered, being taken away. And you're like, no, I don't think that's actually what's happening.
Indifference helps the oppressor.
100%. Period.
Yeah.
So that's what was happening here. And because of Freddie and Truth, their mom teaching them the way that they did, they already fucking knew.
Yep.
This is something we don't stand for. We can't stand for. And if you don't do something to stop it, then you are just as bad as the oppressors.
Right.
So this just fuels their drive to fight for justice. And through their mother's example, Freddie and Truus learned that if you have to help somebody like refugees, you have to make sacrifices for yourself. Their mother then begins routinely hiding Jewish refugees.
Which is super dangerous.
So dangerous. If you're caught, you are killed as well.
Right.
Or taken to camps. So these people are fleeing from Amsterdam and Germany, and they start hiding them. Freddie and Truus give up their bedrooms to start housing Jewish families who needed to go into hiding. So in the early 1940s, Freddie's 14, Truus is 16. Young, like babies. And they get a visit from the commander of the Harlem Council of Resistance, and he formally invites the family to join in the fight for justice. They agree. They're like, hell yeah, what are we going to do? Let's do this.
I love that this man is coming to 3 women and being like, you want to fuck around and find out?
And not even the mom, the 2 girls, basically, because the sisters agree, and they become the first 2 women to join the then 7-person resistance group.
Oh
That's how small it is. And they're like, let's do it. So this guy basically is saying, he tells them he's going to give them military training. This is a quote from Truus. Only later did he tell us what we'd actually have to do. Sabotage bridges and railway lines, right? Like blow them up, dynamite and shit. And learn to shoot Nazis. I remember my sister saying, well, that's something I've never done before. 14 years old. But basically, these girls are so young, and they look younger, so they know like we can use them because no one suspects women anyways, and definitely not young girls.
Children, yeah. I just want to apologize to everybody about how much I'm touching my fucking eye.
We're all very aware of it.
I know.
Okay, here we go. In May of 1940, so all this happens just in time because now the Nazis are invading Netherlands, and they begin an occupation that lasted until the end of the war. So they're just in there, and they fucking stay there. So in response to this, then the girls join their mother, and they begin distributing anti-Nazi newspapers and pamphlets for the resistance. We also glued warnings across German posters in the street calling men to work in Germany. And so they're riding around on these little bikes, okay? They have these anti-Nazi propaganda things underneath in their handbaskets that are covered. And also in their handbaskets are handguns.
Oh.
Yes. So.
How badass would you feel?
I know. But also you're so young.
Yeah, I'd be terrified.
That's a lot of fucking responsibility.
I was gonna say, I don't think if you talk to me as a 14, 16-year-old that I'd be like, fuck yeah, let's go shoot some Nazis.
Honestly,
not that I wouldn't want them dead, but like,
well, and here's I think what gives them the courage to do it. So, okay, one of the main things they start doing is transporting Jewish families and refugees to hiding spots. And so at one point, Truus was in a boat filled with Jewish children that they were trying to ship out of the area. And the Nazis bombed the boat, and all of the children drowned.
Oh.
So she's seeing this. Both these girls are witnessing fucking horrible, horrible things happening to children.
Right.
To families, to anybody. I think... unless you're just a horrible piece of shit person, any bit of this can cause you to have some kind of I need to do something reaction. Even if you don't do it.
I was going to say, because this is happening for no reason.
Feeling like I have to. Yeah. Yes. To people who don't deserve it. Obviously. I mean, especially children. They have no idea what's happening. So, I believe that's what kind of gives them the courage to go ahead and just match that brutality a little bit. Because they end up doing things like blowing up railways with dynamite. They would ride around on their bikes with these handguns. And what they would do then is they would either ambush these officers when they were alone and by themselves and shoot them, or they would kind of lure them away where members of the resistance were who would ambush them and kill them.
Wow.
In at least one instance, Truus seduced a SS officer into the woods so that someone from the resistance could shoot him. As the commander who recruited them had said, Freddie and Truus learned to shoot Nazis too, and the sisters began to go on assassination missions by themselves. Later on, they focused on killing Dutch collaborators who arrested or endangered Jewish refugees and resistance members. So they know that this is a life or death. Like if you get caught, you are dead. There is no talking your way out of it. There is no that's it. But from the book, seducing and killing Nazis. This is a quote from Truce. While I was biking, I saw Germans picking up innocent people from the streets, putting them against a wall and shooting them. I was forced to watch, which aroused such an enormous anger in me, such a disgust, a feeling of dirty bastards. You can have any political conviction or be totally against war, but at that moment, you were just a human being confronted with something very cruel. Shooting innocent people was murder. If you experience something like this, you'll find it justified to act against it. This is a quote, so I'm going to say the quote. It describes something very horrific, so if you need to skip forward, go ahead. Once I was confronted with an SS soldier, a Dutch SS soldier even, who was killing a small baby by hitting it against a wall. He grabbed the baby and hit it against the wall. The father and the sister had to watch. They were obviously hysterical. The child was dead. I shot that guy right there and then. That wasn't an assignment, but I don't regret it.
Yeah.
So they just started, basically they were taking justice into their own hands and fucking, obviously for reasons that...
Because they had to. It wasn't like they could rely on someone else. Like
no one else was doing it.
No one could.
Yeah.
Because this other country is coming in and they're like, you either agree with this political party or you don't get to exist anymore.
Yes.
And even if you did agree with us, if you are a certain kind of person, you still don't get to exist.
Exactly. Yeah. What is that? Yeah. Yeah. So a former researcher at the Netherlands Institute for War, Holocaust, and Genocide Studies says, quote, they were unusual, these girls. There were a lot of women involved in the resistance in the Netherlands, but not so much in the way these girls were. There are not that many examples of women who actually shot collaborators themselves. They were young girls doing this. And on these missions, right? Freddie was especially good at following a target or keeping a lookout because she looked even younger. So she's 12, right? 14, I'm sorry.
14.
But they say she looked anywhere from 10 to 12 because she would wear her hair in these little braids and like just looked like a very small young Dutch girl. Riding around on a little bike with a basket. Like nobody is thinking, because obviously at this point people are starting to catch on that officers are getting shot, that people... Nobody is suspecting this girl. Both sisters shot to kill, but they never revealed how many Nazi and Dutch collaborators they assassinated. According to Pleister, this is the guy from that study, Freddie would tell people who asked that she and her sister were soldiers, and soldiers don't say how many people they kill in war. So to this day, nobody...
damn, I have so much fucking respect for them.
I know. Later, though, Truus would say that she paid the price, that they all did, because it wasn't something they were cocky about, saying, quote, it was tragic, very difficult, and we cried about it every time afterwards. We did not feel like it suited us. It never suits anybody unless they are real criminals, but one loses everything. It poisons the beautiful things in life.
Oh, that's true, though. Like, at that point, they're like, hey, I don't want to do this.
I just have to.
I don't have a choice.
And even Freddie says in one interview, saying she shot a person.
Right.
She sees him fall to the ground, and she has the human impulse to want to go help him afterwards.
Right.
Being like, they're not horrible people, so it's not easy for them to do this.
Right.
They're not psychopaths and people that are okay. They know exactly the effect of what they're doing, and that's why they're okay doing it, but at the same time they know these are humans, they're people.
Right. And it's hard too to think that when you're doing something that is hard, that is out of character for you, that is not like a normal human behavior, I think it would be difficult to look at someone else and assume that their actions are evil and intentional and that they have no remorse. So you do have human empathy for them, but how many of these officers were doing this shit just because they could and didn't have remorse?
Power.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and
the
it would be very
and just being evil
very
people.
bizarre to be someone who's not matching the energy, because obviously the officers were doing significantly worse or significantly more, but doing something that's out of character for yourself, and then like how would you not have? Even if it's the right thing to do, doesn't mean it feels good to do it.
Exactly. So, okay, as they get older, then the next plan of the phase begins. So this is what they would do. The sisters would get all dressed up. They'd go out to these bars where German officers hung out, and they would go and flirt with the Nazis. They would lure them out to the woods with
Uh-huh.
promises like blah, blah, blah. And then either a member of the resistance would be hiding to kill them, or the women would shoot them themselves right there in the woods.
Couple of black
Fucking
widows.
right? Like, the guts, like the courage and the bravery that all of these things take.
The confidence?
Yeah, is just like knowing that I stumble over my words when I think someone thinks that I don't know, like that if I'm lying about the fact that I didn't eat breakfast that morning or something,
Yes.
having to be like, it's I don't want to say awe-inspiring because it's fucking horrible what happened, but it is like, I can't fathom it. It's unfathomable.
It's impressive in a way that I would never want to know how to do.
Yeah.
Or feel like I would want anyone to ever have to figure out how to do.
Yes.
But that is a skill set. That's a soldier.
Yes, you
know
are.
what I mean?
Yeah, you're
It's like a
doing what
spy.
you need.
Yeah.
Yes, 100%. And like it's almost like you're suppressing every human emotion you have to feel because you're like, I have a job and it needs to get done.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna do that job.
Mhm.
Oh my God. Okay, so then in summer of 1943, so this is about 2 years before the war ends, another young woman, Hani Sheft, joins the resistance group. So she'd been fighting against the Nazis in the Netherlands herself by stealing ID cards for Jewish residents so that they could be protected from being sent to concentration camps. Because if you had an ID that said I'm whatever, then they can't take you away. And that's what she was doing, was kind of forging and getting these IDs to these people.
Can you imagine how fucking stupid that is?
What, that they have to have an ID?
Yes.
Well, the whole fucking thing
This
is...
card says that I'm not what you think I am, so don't...
you're not... But like...
What?
I know. It's wild that this even happened and that it got to as far as it did without anybody. I mean, people did try to stop it, but just like that it was able to even rise to power is bananas.
Right. Part of me, like, it makes me think about the Papers, Please law that we talked about in
episode
our
1.
very first episode, where there are people in cages right now. Like, there were children separated from their parents. There are children missing from being in these cages. And the only reason they were, quote unquote, allowed to put them in there is because they didn't have papers. They don't have citizenship.
You're
quote
a
unquote,
human being.
Yes, quote unquote, a card that says you're allowed to be here.
I don't know how anybody sees that and thinks in any case that that's a like humane or right thing.
And I don't understand how
done.
Hearing that, you could be someone who could be like, well, you just gotta understand, and it's different, and here's
These
why.
are babies. I don't
want to hear your reasoning because it makes no sense to me.
No.
And that's why I would be luring people into the woods and not be the one.
Yes. Yeah.
Who would be encouraging it.
Yeah. Okay, so basically what happened was the Council of Resistance approached Hani because they had heard that she had left school because her university was making people sign a pledge of loyalty to the Nazi soldiers. And that's like you had to sign it or you couldn't go to university. And she was like, fuck you guys, and I'm not going to school.
Fucking education.
Yeah. And she left. So the resistance hears that and they're like, hey, we have something that you can do if you would like to. So together, Freddie, Truss, and Hani successfully assassinate many high-ranking Nazi officials. So they're all doing it together, this bike thing. Okay?
I was gonna say, I just imagine them all on bikes, very Now and Then style.
Yeah.
Just like with guns.
Yeah, yeah. But here's the problem, okay? Eventually, officers start catching on and wonder who's behind this and how it can keep happening. And a couple times there were instances where either one, like an officer was shot but had somebody with him, or there's like a way that it starts getting around because Hani has red hair. And so it starts getting around to the soldiers. Beware of the girl with the red hair.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Why do I have chills? I know
it's not me. She actually ended up on the Nazis' most wanted list as, quote, the girl with the red hair. And Adolf Hitler personally ordered her capture.
I have chills everywhere.
I know. Oh, I just got them, and I've fucking been working on this for weeks.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, on March 21st, which is today, by the way, in 1945, I didn't even mean to do this, and when I was putting it all together last night, I was like, again, full body chills when I made that realization.
Wait, it's the 22nd.
Fuck, really? Well, maybe that's why, because I was thinking, oh shit, it's the 21st right now as I was putting it together. Right?
Well, now you gotta tell me. You have what's the date?
It's the 24th. Okay, I'm confused. Sorry, everyone. Well, maybe it was when I.
That's the most on-brand thing ever.
Real quick, I just want to say I've had a migraine that I'm pretty sure. I'm not kidding. I told Corey that it felt like when people have. Okay, so there's something that happens sometimes when you have a stroke. It's called aphasia, I believe. I'm so sorry if that's wrong. Which would be
just when you can't
funny.
recall words.
Yeah, if it was the wrong thing. But I'm like, I'm not kidding. I don't know if there's like a way I can test for that, but I feel like that was happening to me because, like, in the small doses, obviously not as strong as when someone has a stroke, but it was happening. Like, I couldn't figure out dates. I didn't know where someone asked me what town we were in when I was doing house stuff, and I like couldn't think of the name. The town that I've lived in forever. And then when I was at the flower appointment for the wedding, I couldn't think of like the words for flowers that like are common flower or like the words for colors.
I was gonna say, I think you're under a lot of stress.
That's
a lot of
stress. All right. Anyways, so if I get things like that mixed up, I'm sorry. And this was, I must have been doing this on the 21st because I remember seeing it and looking at the date and being like it was either the day before or the day of. So, but I've been working on this for 2 weeks. So
yeah, I was gonna say, I think the 21st was Tuesday.
That would make sense because I didn't even.
Nope, would have been Wednesday.
Yeah, I was working at home. I'm pretty sure that day. Okay. Anyways. Sorry,
we recorded.
everybody. Yeah, I still went home. I was working at home that night.
Okay. Jesus Christ, no one cares.
Okay, it doesn't matter. Anyways, okay, March 21st. This is fucking very sad. Get it together. 1945. Hani is riding her bike transporting underground papers, and she's carrying a pistol in her basket, as they do, when she is stopped by Nazis at a checkpoint. Because of the warnings of the girl with the red hair, they decide to search her bike. Now, at this point, she had heard of those, and she had dyed her hair black. But her roots had started to grow out, so they could see the red hair in her roots. So they start to interrogate her because they don't know for sure, and they find out that she is who they think she is, the woman who has been behind the death of many of their high-ranking officers. So she is tortured for a while, and then she is executed by firing squad on April 17th, 1945, at just 24 years old.
Fuck.
You want to hear something that's even worse? 18 days later, the Netherlands is liberated from the Nazis.
Oh, no.
I know. Isn't that fucking horrible? Horrible.
That's why you guys got to do your roots.
God damn. And it's difficult, I'm sure. Then I can't even keep up with mine now. Oh, Jesus.
That's so sad.
So fucking sad. Actually, okay, and now I don't know if this is legit. I read it on 2 websites, but then I had a third that was kind of like, there's no actual whatever about this, but there wasn't a witness that said they heard it, and so.
Yeah.
This is what we know. The first shot that they fired at her missed. It grazed her. So it hit her, but it grazed. She was alive. And there is someone who said they witnessed it, and they saw her say, "I shoot better," as her last words before she was shot again and killed. Isn't that fucking...
She's so hard.
I know.
God damn, I love her.
I know. Just such a fucking badass.
I was going to say, I feel like if you are going to go into this quote unquote line of work, like if you're going to commit to doing this,
you kind of accept your fate.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of have to, because like I said, there couldn't be that like hesitation, that fear.
And if I'm gonna go, that's how I'm gonna go, like a bad bitch.
And I think they had all gotten themselves in that mindset that like, if we die, we know we're dying doing the right thing.
Right.
And that to me is worth what we're doing.
And if I can't physically hurt you anymore because you're about to kill me, I am gonna hurt your ego one last time before I go.
Right.
Yeah.
And like, good for her.
Right.
After the war, the remains of 422 members of the resistance were found in the, I think I'm going to say Bloemendaal dunes. So basically what they would do is they would shoot these people, just throw them in these fucking dunes, okay? 421 men and 1 woman, Hani Sheft.
Whoa.
I know, that got me emotional. I don't know why that almost did it, but it just goes to show how many people, like, women were doing the smaller things, but these 3 women put themselves on the front lines of the battle and were prepared for what that meant.
Right.
On November 27th, 1945, Sheft was then reburied in a state funeral at the Dutch Honorary Cemetery.
Oh.
Members of the Dutch government and royal family attended, including Queen Wilhelmina, who called Chef the symbol of the resistance.
Oh.
Princess Juliana and her husband, Prince Bernard, were also in attendance, and later as queen, Juliana unveiled a bronze commemorative statue in the Kienau Park near her birthplace in Harlem.
Wow, that's so special because, like, yeah, she was only 24, but look at the impact.
Yes.
Look you changed the world.
Yes, you saved lives.
Yeah.
So many lives. Hani was one of 95 people to receive the Dutch Cross of Resistance, and General Eisenhower awarded her a Medal of Freedom. A number of schools and streets were named after her, and for her and other resistance heroines, a foundation has been created, the National Hani Chef Foundation, and the biography of her life inspired the movie The Girl with the Red Hair.
Aww.
She is remembered each year.
I
know, because it's fucking, I know. She's remembered each year in November during a national event held in her hometown.
Well, now I want to watch this movie.
I know. I feel like I know. I want to really bad. And I want to read this book again because it's just this story is incredible. I read a book. It is a fictional book, but it was The Nightingale. Yes, by Kristen Hanna.
I think we talked about it, didn't we? Because I talked to you about what the heck, Madame Curie?
Maybe that was the Radium Girls. That I read that book.
Yeah,
I did read The Radium Girls, but
Yep.
The Nightingale was a fictional story, but it was kind of, it almost seems like it was based on these people. They don't say that.
Yeah.
But it was in France, and it was like the story is revolving around sisters who are part of the resistance in their own separate ways,
right.
Against the Nazis. And it's just like when you read this, anything about World War II feels like it should just be a horror novel, a fictional horror novel. To know that that happened in real life to people, and that there's people who deny that is,
or try to compare shit like happening to them that is just in no way comparable.
No, it's so frustrating, and there are still people who this happened to who are alive today. Right. It was not even generationally a long time ago. Like, we're talking people are still alive that were there for it. So it's just, it's one of those things that I will never, ever, ever be able to wrap my head around. Okay, so Truce would go on to speak publicly. Okay, so both of the sisters, Freddie and Truce, both obviously dealt with this in their own way. So they're dealing with a lot of PTSD, with a lot of nightmares, depression, all of those things. And so they both kind of went about it in their own way. Truce she became known for her public speaking as well as her artwork, which she did to process what she went through. She also wrote a memoir called Not Then, Not Now, Not Ever. I know. And then Freddie, she said that the way that she was able to get over it was she just focused on having a family. She got married. She had 3 kids. She's got 4 grandkids.
Tried to find a way to have a normal life.
Yes. And so she just really put all of her time and effort into them.
Yeah.
None of the 3 women ever reveal the exact number of Nazi officers they assassinated. And getting, this is a direct quote then by that Sophie Poldermans, the person who wrote the book. And getting to know the Oversteegens, I also witnessed their own struggles to come to terms with the past. They both suffered from what nowadays would probably be diagnosed as PTSD, enduring severe nightmares, screaming and fighting in their sleep. Hani Chef's letters, as well as testimony from her friends and fellow resistors, suggests she also suffered from depression and PTSD during the war prior to her arrest and execution. After the war, both Oversteegen sisters fought for recognitions of their resistance work. So there was a point where Freddie was kind of like, I'm putting it behind me. And then around like the 2010s, they both were very like, we want to get recognized too. Because Hani was, but they weren't.
Right.
So they were kind of fighting for that.
Well, I think it would be kind of hard, especially as people who like, you were doing something, like we said, is so uncharacteristic.
Yeah.
You probably would want to create some kind of a separation.
Yes.
To like almost just heal from it, to be like, I cannot be defined by the actions that I felt I had to do.
Yes.
Only to then be like, you know what? but I did it.
Yeah.
I did it.
And because I did it, lives were changed. Lives were saved.
Mhm.
Yeah. And it deserves recognition because
Right.
maybe it could help someone else have the courage.
And I didn't do it for the recognition, but this is the importance of telling the story.
It's my story.
Right.
And it deserves to be told.
Right.
So, however, during the last couple years of her life for Freddie, she yearned for more acknowledgement of her role. And this is from Sophie. It says, I remember a surreal discussion between the two sisters where they were quarreling about which one of them shot a particular Nazi spy. That's such a, I'm sorry.
A sibling thing to do.
I killed him. No, I killed him.
I'm pretty sure I killed him.
Yes. But then in 2014, they both finally received the Dutch Mobilization War Cross, and each had a street named after them. So many years after doing their work in the shadows, they were glad for the public recognition. They wanted their stories to be known, to teach people that, as Truce put it, even when the work is hard, you must always remain human.
Yes.
In 2016, Truce passes away at the age of 92
Wow,
from natural causes. And then 2 years later, a day before her 93rd birthday, Freddie passes away from natural causes. And that is the story of Honey Sheft, Freddie, and Truce Oversteegen, the teenage trio that took down
so many
high-ranking Nazi officers in World War II.
That's so cool.
Isn't it? It just, when you said we got to do something for women's history, I was like, I have the fucking perfect thing because I also heard about this first from My Favorite Murder. That podcast is where I got some information as well. So that's going to be linked, that episode.
Yeah.
But when I first heard it, I remember being in the shower because that's when I would listen to the podcast. And I was just like, number one, how have I never fucking heard this?
Yeah.
And number two, what? Like, it was so something that, I don't know. Again, it just sounded like a movie. Like, it couldn't truly be real. And that the woman surely couldn't still be alive after this many years.
When you were saying the 2010s, I was like, what?
Yeah.
What?
2018.
Yeah.
So it's just
yeah, and like there's times in like school where entire grades are dedicated to world history.
Yeah.
And I don't think we ever really talk about things like that.
Definitely not the Netherlands. I don't know shit about the Netherlands. I feel
anything war related that I ever remember was always male focused. And always. A lot of time it was always like either the man was like put in a position where he had to like save himself, or it was they were forced into something because it was just like men defend their country.
Yep.
It was never a woman, and it was never
I'm gonna put myself out there.
I choose to do this.
Yeah, because I feel like it needs to be done.
Right.
And I'm gonna do it.
Right.
It's inspiring on just 1,000 different levels.
Yeah.
Like, anytime I feel like something is hard, it's like, you know what? It probably is hard, but is it right? Is it the right thing? Then I just do it.
Yeah.
So yeah. That's what I have for you, and I hope
thank you for doing all of that.
I hope you enjoyed it. I hope that it was enough. Like I said, there's so much more. I did not have time to read the full book. There was a lot going on in these last 2 weeks.
That's some heavy stuff.
Let me tell you, some of the things that I read, I didn't even put in there. I put in those 2 examples because I just felt like it was necessary to show, like, kind of even though we've all heard the stories of the concentration camps and things, I think if you're thinking of Nazi anything outside of concentration camps, it's almost like it wasn't. You don't hear about how bad it was for just civilians to witness.
Yes.
And like, not that it's worse than the people who have to, but like,
it's in addition to this bad thing, these bad things were also happening.
And when we're talking about traumatizing people, yeah, you traumatize the people who it happened to, but there's a whole nother secondary level of traumatizing that happened to the people who had to witness all of these things. And to see the people who witnessed it and then said, I'm going to fucking do something about this.
Right.
Absolutely not on my watch. Can this continue? It's just,
I think there's something called bystander syndrome or something like that. Is that what it's called?
I want to talk about that at some point. Yes, it is.
But that's what it reminds me of, is like you feel this.
Someone else is going to do it.
this immense amount of trauma and guilt because you haven't done anything, but you are bearing witness to something horrible happening.
Yeah. Well, the bystander effect is basically like you see if there's a crowd of people, everyone else will think someone else is going to do something to help. And I actually had this conversation with Corey because we just watched a video of there was a bus driver who had a heart attack as he was driving this bus of kids, and his foot is on the gas and they start just like rocketing.
Yeah.
And this kid, he had to be Noah's age or like around there, runs to the front and starts taking the wheel, and like he's fucking doing shit. And Corey's like, can you believe this? And I'm like, you know, one of the reasons I'm marrying you is because I know Corey would be that type of person. It also probably has to do with the fact that he's a nurse. I've seen him be the type of person where if someone's like in distress, he's the one to step up and try to help. But I don't know that I am, and it's upsetting. I'm trying so hard to become that person, but like I always question, would I be the person? And I like don't know that I would.
Well, and it's hard. I think it's hard to answer that question until you are in a situation like that, because I believe that I'm the type of person who would, but I feel like I also can't say that because I'm not in the situation.
Yeah.
And I can probably think of several times where I wish I would have done something differently. And I want to think that I would be the girl with the red hair. I want to think that I would be a badass and I'd be like, yeah, sign me up. But would I?
Right.
Or would I just
knowing
be like
that it would be like, oh, well, that means that I could die, that I probably will die. There had to be a big portion of their lives where they were almost certain that it was going to happen. So like to go into that knowing this is probably going to end in my death and doing it anyways.
Yeah. But at the same time, if you're in a time of war,
what are your options?
Right.
Yeah.
Because it probably already feels like the end anyway. So you're like, am I going to
at
go
least
down?
I'm going to go down swinging.
Exactly. Exactly.
Oh, I love that. So if you learned anything,
go down swinging.
Go down swinging. Be the one. Be
Sugar,
the one to
we're
put
all
up
going down swinging.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you enjoyed that as much as the silly ones. We aren't just a silly, goofy podcast. Sometimes we want to give you some entertainment, but education.
We did tell them that we're like trying to have a system, and so we're gonna do one of these a month. So this is the second one.
Yeah,
since we've done this.
Enjoy.
I gotta go pick my eye. I'm so sorry. I gotta go get a patch or something.
I was gonna say we're coming back and you just have a patch.
Seriously, I gotta go man a ship and get a parrot or something. All right.
See you next Tuesday. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
Well, anyway, on that note,
every time I say that,
you've been listening to too many like tough bitches. Now
I
you
know.
want to. I know you're like fucking hard.
I'm like, let me go
people.
smoke my cigarette.
Okay. Anyway, thanks so much for hanging out, guys. If you are from the Netherlands and want to correct Sierra on any of the
please, I'm never gonna do it the way that you do, but I'd love to hear you say it.
If you can teach us how to do the roll the R things in the back of the throat, let me know.
Yeah.
Anyway, we love you so much, and we'll see you next week.
All right,
we're out.
Goodbye.